What's up, everybody? It is Broken Havoc here, right here on the Broken Havoc podcast, here to review SmackDown, which happened last night from April 30th, 2021. What are my thoughts on this show? Man. This was by far, in my opinion, one of the best SmackDowns I've seen throughout the entire year. And look, SmackDown is not the greatest show in the world. SmackDown still has its flaws. And, you know, in this show in particular, it has a couple flaws, but I really love the big fight feel between Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan. If anything, this should have been the SmackDown main event for WrestleMania. Let's be 100% honest here. Bryan and Reigns should have main evented WrestleMania. No excuses, but as you guys all know, it was Roman, Bryan, and Edge, which was a fantastic match, and ended in the right way possible by Roman Reigns, stacking them all together to make the pinfall attempt, and actually getting the 3 count. Well, overall, I thought this show was pretty cool, mainly because of Bryan and Roman. Let's be straight up. And also, Roman Reigns finally, and I mean finally, got new entrance music. It's been a long time. We finally don't have to hear that Shield music anymore. That Shield music is put to rest. Thoughts on the new entrance music later on in this review. The show starts. Now, one note is they actually aired the SmackDown intro because for these past few months or weeks, I mean, there was no SmackDown intro whatsoever. They just, boom, went straight to the arena, welcomed you out to the show. But we got the intro. And one thing I was wondering is, why is babyface Roman Reigns still on the intro? I mean, like, it makes no sense. He's a heel now, and you still got babyface Roman. It kind of reminded me of how WCW Nitro, Hogan was already a heel, and like within a year of him being a heel, they still had him in the intro being the typical red and yellow Hulk Hogan. But it is what it is. But yeah, the show starts off with Bianca Belair, who is the SmackDown Women's Champion. She welcomes us to the hottest show on Fox, Friday Night SmackDown. Then all of a sudden, as soon as she was about to speak more often, or not more often, that makes no sense, but as soon as she was about to speak more, Roode and Ziggler interrupt, says that the tag team champions will take it from here. Roode and Ziggler are not a real tag team whatsoever, in my opinion. Those guys are singles wrestlers. I mean, Bobby Roode or Robert Roode or whatever you want to call him, he was always a tag team wrestler. I mean, most notably, the tag team that comes to mind that Bobby Roode was a part of was Beer Money with James Storm in TNA. But it is what it is. Ziggler was never a tag team guy. In my eyes, was always a singles guy. But it is what it is. The tag titles don't mean anything on the main roster. That's just me, and it's the cold hard fact in my opinion. Ziggler says that they are the best at what they do. Cough, cough. No, they're not. Then the Street Profits come in, and then Bayley interrupts as soon as the Street Profits start talking. And then all of a sudden, as soon as Bayley, like literally throughout. So Bayley comes in the ring and literally just snatches the mic away from Bianca and just starts laughing out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden, Bianca just slaps the hell out of Bayley, which is pretty funny, I'm not going to lie. And then Bayley brawls with Bianca, and then Roode and Ziggler brawl with the Street Profits. Typical WWE booking right here. I mean, interruption after interruption, and then all of a sudden, a brawl breaks out. We go to commercial break. What do you know? We got a tag match. Street Profits and Bianca Belair versus Bayley and Roode and Ziggler. I refuse to call them the Dirty Dogs, by the way. That's what the team is called, the Dirty Dogs, which I refuse to call them that. I'm calling them Roode and Ziggler. They are not the Dirty Dogs. All right. We come back from commercial break. The match has already started. Bayley and Bianca brawl as the match starts. We get a clothesline by Bayley. We get a cover by Bianca. We get a 2 count. Bayley misses a drop kick, but Bayley tries to go for the cover. We get a 2 count. A drop kick by by Bianca on Bayley. Street Profits tag in. We get a double team on Roode and Ziggler. Montez Ford jumps over the top rope with a swanton, which looked beautiful, by the way. Montez Ford, phenomenal wrestler. He is awesome. Montez Ford is amazing in the ring, and he does one of the best frog splashes I've ever seen. Bayley drives Bianca on the steel steps. Super kick by Ziggler on Montez Ford. Everyone is outside the ring. Roode tags in. Double team by Roode and Ziggler. Roode plants Ford on the mat. We get a cover and a 2 count. Roode works on Ford. We get a double suplex on Ford by Ziggler and Roode. We get a cover, but a 2 count. Roode works on Ford. Ziggler hits a splash in the corner on Ford. Super kick counter by Ford when Ziggler was about to hit the super kick, but Ford just immediately just kicked him in the face. And one note is that literally it looked like Ziggler's tooth literally just busted out, like literally just came off of Ziggler's mouth as soon as he got hit with that kick. But I don't know. I think he got a tooth injury. I don't even know. Roode tags in. Angelo Dawkins tags in. Works on both Ziggler and Roode. We get a running bulldog by Dawkins. We get a neck breaker on Roode. We get a cover and a 2 count when Roode interferes. Bianca is about to pick up Ziggler. Bayley interferes. We get a KOD by Bianca. And then we get a whip to the hair on Roode by Bianca, which you heard it on television. That was no joke. Ford hits a beautiful, and I mean beautiful, frog splash for the win. Overall thoughts, the booking was terrible when it came to like the opening segment of the show with Bianca, and then all of a sudden Roode and Ziggler interrupt, and then all of a sudden the Street Profits come in, and then Bayley interrupts, and then a brawl breaks loose. We go to commercial break, and then we get a tag match. That is typical WWE booking, and we get that every week on both Raw and SmackDown, and it's ridiculous. I don't like that type of booking, but I will say this, the match was great, and I really enjoyed the match. Montez Ford, in my opinion, was the highlight. Montez Ford is amazing at what he does. Bianca is also great. Bayley, I feel like she has fallen off the sidelines. I feel like, in my opinion, she's starting to become more of a joke. I mean, my God, at WrestleMania, she was basically buried by Hogan and Titus. Let's be honest. I mean, like, yeah, WWE makes new stars, right? Well, I mean, she's already a star. She's been a star for years. I mean, but like, come on now. But it is what it is. All right, we get a backstage interview with Daniel Bryan. Bryan says that he is in peace with the decision, that if he loses, he leaves SmackDown. Says that he is happy with the decision, says that he will tap him out again, and says that if he wins the Universal title, Bryan's first challenger is Cesaro. Yeah, that didn't really happen, didn't it? Rollins talks about Bryan and Reigns. So throughout this whole show, we got multiple vignettes basically hyping up this main event between Roman and Bryan. And I will say this, I really enjoyed it because it gave that match more importance, because that match was already important no matter what anybody tells you. But at the same time, I love the fact that they were just putting small vignettes, just building up the match with multiple wrestlers in the locker room and also legends like Booker T talking about who do they think is going to win the match. And honestly, I had no problem with it whatsoever. I really enjoyed it, and it was awesome to see. So Rollins talks about Bryan's reign, and he predicts that Bryan will win. Okay, that's great. All right, next up we get Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler backstage. Says that they are the tag team champions. Natalya and Tamina then later attack Baszler and Jax. What was the point of this segment? I don't know. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus Natalya and Tamina. Overall thoughts on this match, I thought this match was okay. Not the best match in the world. I mean, like, I don't care about Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. Nor do I care about Natalya and Tamina. Look, they're all right. They're not the best. I mean, Shayna Baszler's awesome. But the way she has been booked, get out of here. I'm sorry. She's been booked terribly. She shouldn't even be, as I said in my previous reviews, she shouldn't be in a tag team with Nia Jax. She should be at this level right here. She shouldn't be here. She should be here. But it is what it is. Shayna Baszler basically being in a tag match with Nia Jax goes to show you what the main roster actually thinks of Shayna Baszler. They think of her as a joke, in my opinion, and I don't think that's the case. She should literally right now be either the Raw or SmackDown Women's Champion and just dominate from there on. That's what I believe that they should do. What they should do with Shayna Baszler, but instead she's booked as a joke. All right, so we get Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus Natalya and Tamina. Nia and Tamina start. I mean, didn't we see a match between one of the members of each team last week? I mean, like, again, typical WWE booking. We see the same thing over and over again. Nia and Tamina start. Tamina super kicks Nia in the back in the corner. Tamina tries to hit a splash from the top, but Nia has the knees up. Knee to the head by Shayna. Shayna works on Tamina. Nia tags in and works on Tamina. Tamina fights back, tries to power slam Nia, but Nia was way too strong and drops her. Shayna tags in, works on the arm of Tamina. Tamina hits Shayna into a slam. Natalya tags in and works on Shayna. Discus clothesline by Natalya. Covering a 2 count. We get a German suplex by Natalya. A kick by Shayna. Nia drops an elbow on Natalya. Covering a 2 count. Tamina, tag by Tamina. Tamina goes to the top. Reginald, yes, Reginald was part of this, interferes. Natalya attacks Reginald. Shayna attacks Nyla. Baszler tags in. Tries to suplex Tamina. Headbutt by Tamina on Shayna. And then we get a Superfly splash, which I will say this right here. No offense to Tamina, but it was not the best splash. It was not a great splash, in my opinion. I didn't like it. It didn't look great. And she covers Shayna Baszler, and she wins the match. Tamina covers Shayna Baszler for the win. Again, it goes to show you what WWE or the main roster, because I don't think it's NXT. NXT booked Shayna Baszler beautifully. But it goes to show you what the main roster, the people backstage in the main roster really think of Shayna Baszler. They don't see any essence in her, and they don't see any importance with Shayna Baszler, which I don't think is the case. You don't even have to watch NXT. You can just watch a couple clips of Shayna Baszler. You can just look at her presence, and honestly, you can just scream star and be like, dude, she can be a mega heel and be a big star in the main roster. Instead, she's booked as a joke. Look, I did say earlier you don't even have to watch NXT, but you just literally look at her and just scream, like, this woman is a star. But if you do watch NXT and actually look at what Shayna Baszler has done in NXT, she's one of the longest reigning NXT women's champions in NXT's history. Now, granted, Asuka has that title by being the longest reigning NXT women's champion. But at the same time, Shayna really put importance to that title as well. She had a really long reign with that title. And I do believe that Shayna, like, she should have another long title with, like, the Raw or the Raw women's title. But granted, I mean, like, she's in a tag team with Nia Jax, and I don't think that's great booking for her. I mean, my God, she lost to Becky Lynch last year at WrestleMania. You know what I mean? I think it's ridiculous. I think she should be booked into a main event. And she should be booked in the main event scene, but WWE just doesn't care. We get a vignette. Another Roman and Bryan vignette. I'm probably not going to mention these after this, but we get a vignette of Booker T talking about, his prediction on the match. He says that, this match will be awesome, and he predicts that Roman will beat Bryan. Almost everybody thinks that Roman will beat Bryan. I mean, Roman shouldn't lose the belt, and granted, he didn't, but, like, in general, like, he shouldn't have lost that belt, and that's awesome. He did that. It's awesome that he didn't lose the belt, because it'd be a really dumb decision if WWE actually had Roman drop the title. All right, and then all of a sudden, Shinsuke Nakamura talks about Roman and Bryan, says that Roman escaped him once and that he will be waiting. Roman and Shinsuke is actually a match I actually really want to see. I think they wrestled before, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was on an episode of SmackDown. I don't remember, but my memory's not that great. But, like, I would love to see that match. Then we get Rey Mysterio and Dominik backstage. They talk about future tag team opportunities, and Dominik talks about how since he was a little kid, he always dreamt about being tag team champions with his father, all that stuff. Look, it's great to have Dominik and Rey Mysterio, be tag team champions and all. It's great. It's awesome. It tells a good story. But at the same time, I feel like Dominik, I understand that, they're trying to make him as, he is Rey Mysterio's son. And his first match against Seth Rollins last year at SummerSlam was great. I enjoyed it. Dominik impressed me a lot in the ring. But at the same time, I don't understand why he was just given the straight to the main roster treatment. I think if you had put him on NXT, and, like, I know a lot of people don't watch NXT, and that's fine. Like, literally, I'm not the biggest NXT watcher, but I'm watching weekly now since they're on Tuesdays instead of Wednesdays, because when they were on Wednesdays, I didn't even DVR it. I just watched Dynamite, in my opinion, and that was just me. But, like, if you had put him on NXT, if you had put Dominik on NXT, you would have, not only he would have proved his craft and become a lot better and have actual, like, competition there, because there's a lot of great wrestlers in NXT. And not only that, you would have probably have him, like, go for the Cruiserweight title, because people don't realize Rey Mysterio made the Cruiserweight title. He was one of the influencers when it came to the Cruiserweight division back in the days of WCW. I mean, this guy made that title. Him, Eddie Guerrero, and Dean Malenko were the three guys, in my opinion, that made that title what it is today. Those were the pioneers of the cruiserweight division. If you would have Dominik carry on that legacy in NXT, honestly, I do think if he ever won the cruiserweight title, I feel like it would be an awesome moment. Now, granted, I understand that the story that they're trying to tell here, but in my opinion, I think Dominik should be in NXT. I'm not saying that Dominik is terrible in the ring because he's awesome in the ring. I'm glad that Dominik is doing so well, but at the same time, in my opinion, I do think that he should have the opportunity like everybody else and work for a few years in NXT before getting called up to the main roster, but instead they give him the straight to main roster treatment, and I don't think he needed that, in my opinion. But it is what it is. We get a Aleister Black video package. I'm not going to go on what happened in this video package. It was a very bizarre video package. He sounded really heelish. He basically talked about, all the stuff that the world is like, says is great and all that stuff. Yeah, all that stuff. It's very bizarre, and it kind of has Aleister Black come off a little heelish. I mean, the video package that we got last week had Aleister Black come off as a little heelish, but I'm digging these vignettes. These vignettes are not bad at all. I really enjoyed it, but I have no faith in WWE actually trying to push Aleister Black. Now, this guy should have been WWE champion already, in my opinion. This guy should have been WWE champion. I mean, bro, when you look at Aleister Black, I look at him as the face of the company. I genuinely believe that. Like, if he had given the proper push that he deserves, this guy would have been a draw. Well, before this COVID thing happened, because we really don't know how wrestling, finds its draws nowadays is by the quarters of the ratings. That's how they find draws nowadays. I mean, Darby Allin is an example. He's main eventing Dynamite every week because he's the TNT champion, and he is the highest rated segment of the show. It goes to show you that Darby Allin is a draw. I do believe Aleister Black can be a draw if WWE lets him be him. That's my opinion. But I'm digging these new vignettes. I hope to God they actually do something with Aleister Black, because if they don't do anything with him, let's be honest, is it gonna matter? Like, if they don't do anything with Aleister Black, then these vignettes mean nothing. They just don't. And it is what it is. But yeah, I hope they do something with Aleister Black in the long run. All right. We get Apollo Crews versus Big E for the Intercontinental title. Our first of two title matches of the evening. We get Big E. We get a backstage interview with Big E. Says that he's been all around the world. Says that Apollo and him have been round and round. And says that tonight he will get his baby back. Let's hope that's the case. All right. Match starts. We get a hip toss by Big E. Works on Apollo. Abdominal stretch by Big E. We get a high elbow by Big E. We get a cover and a 2 count. Drags Apollo to the apron. Big E hits a splash on the apron on Apollo. We get a cover, and Apollo's leg was on the rope. Crews bounces Big E on the top rope. We get a clothesline by Apollo. A suplex on Apollo by Big E outside of the ring. And Crews continues to work on Big E during the commercial break. Crews tries to plant Big E, but Big E counters with a belly-to-belly suplex. Moonsault off the apron by Crews, which looked beautiful, by the way. I really enjoyed that spot. Both go back in the ring. Belly-to-belly by Big E. Splash by Big E. We get a cover and a 2 count. A kick to the face by Apollo. Right hands by Big E. Splash in the corner by Crews. Big E plants Crews with a Uranagi, which looked devastating, by the way. Cover and a 2 count. A close 3. Close near fall. Big E runs into the knees of Crews. Crews drops Big E on the neck on the apron. Frog splash by Crews. We get a 2 count. Then we proceed to get a big ending. Cover, and Commander Z's interferes. Literally, I'm scratching my head over this. We get a DQ. This match was great until that happened. WWE, look, a lot of people say AEW has, especially in recent weeks on Dynamite, has a lot of interferences. And I agree. But one thing I will say here, AEW is known for their interferences. WWE is known for their DQs. This is the perfect example. They literally ruined a great match. I mean, like, why would you... I mean, this happens every week on Raw and SmackDown. It goes to show you why the shows are not great. I mean, this show was not bad, but like mainly because of Bryan and Roman. But like, come on now, this match would have been great if there had been a clean finish. You know what I mean? But instead, they had to go with the DQ route like usual because WWE has no like knowledge and don't care, and it is what it is. It sucks. But after the match, Kevin Owens comes in for the saves after Aziz was attacking Big E. Aziz fights back at Owens. Both Owens and Big E fight Aziz. Sami Zayn appears out of nowhere with the haluva kick, which looked pretty sick. Sami Zayn has the IC title and really like just wants to like get. It's a clear indication that he wants to regain his title. Gives it to Cruz, and Aziz takes down Zayn with a Nigerian nail. Overall thoughts on this match? This was great. The finish was terrible, and that's that. Miz talks about Roman and Bryan, of course, the vignettes building up to that main event. We get a Paul Heyman backstage interview, but before that, Cesaro talks about Roman and Bryan and predicts that Bryan will win the match and will take the title from Bryan, and he will take the title from Bryan in that title shot that he was promised. All right, before the match starts, because like keep in mind this was like 9:25. Correct me if I'm wrong. The match started like the ring introduction started at like 9:20 something. The match started really early. It gave all these guys plenty of time to work a really awesome match, a television match. It worked a really awesome television match. But Paul Heyman, we get a backstage interview with Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman continues to show you why he's Paul Heyman and continues to show you why he is the best at what he does. Paul Heyman gives 110% all the time. Even if the product is bad, he tries so hard and gives it all the time, 110%. And this is a pure example of him giving you 110. He put over Bryan immensely in this backstage segment. He says he's sick of hearing the name of Daniel Bryan. He says he had a Hall of Fame worthy career. Says it was the ultimate underdog. Says that Bryan made the ultimate comeback. Says people, like, he keeps on saying yes before he keeps on mentioning these facts. He says, yes, Bryan made the ultimate comeback. Yes, people say that he is the one to beat Roman Reigns. Yes, and says that he says that no, he will not beat Roman Reigns, and says he will not be on SmackDown again, and keeps on repeating at the end, no, no, no. Paul Heyman, again, he's great at what he does. Phenomenal promo by Heyman. A lot of people say he came up with that promo right off the top of his head, and you know what? I believe it. Why would you give the script? Why would you give a script to Paul Heyman of all people? Like, come on, this guy knows how to come up with promos from the fly and knows how to deliver. All right, Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns for the Universal title. This match started mad early, around like 9:25. Correct me if I'm wrong. And if Bryan loses, he leaves SmackDown. Now, one thing I will mention is Roman Reigns finally, and I mean finally, gets new entrance music. No more Shield music. That era is over. Welcome to the era of the Tribal Chief. What are my thoughts on Roman Reigns' new ring music or entrance music, whatever you want to call it? I enjoy it and I love it. Literally, a lot of people on social media, on Twitter especially, were saying that, oh my God, it sounds like Roman's new theme basically sounds like a final boss theme. And I cannot disagree with that. That is the most factual and the most truest thing I've ever heard. Roman's theme song, his new theme song, sounds like a final boss in like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter. It really does. But at the end of the day, I really enjoy his new theme song. It fits perfectly with the new character of Roman Reigns and really gives you the sense that, yeah, this guy's no joke. This guy's a heel and doesn't care what anybody thinks about him. That's awesome. It's really awesome. All right. Let's start with the match, and I got a couple of notes on the match. Well, first off, I will have to say this. This match was amazing. This match was awesome. This match delivered 110%. And this match was amazing. No DQs, clean finish. Well, somewhat of a clean finish, I would say. But I'll get to that later. I'm going to be discussing my notes. And yeah, So as soon as the match starts, we get a running knee by Bryan on Reigns, attacks Roman, and we get a right hand by Reigns. We get a headlock by Reigns, shoulder tackle. Bryan is about to go for the yes lock, but Reigns escapes. Reigns gets sent to the barricade. Bryan works on the left arm of Reigns. Running kick in the corner by Bryan. Clothesline on Bryan, covering a kick out. Roman begins to take control. We get a suplex by Reigns, covering a 2 count. A headlock by Reigns. Elbow by Reigns, covering a 2 count. Reigns continues to work on Bryan. We get an uppercut by Bryan. Drops Reigns in the middle turnbuckle. We get a couple yes kicks in the corner by Bryan. We get a powerbomb by Reigns, covering a 2 count. Roman fights Bryan outside of the ring, sends him to the barricade, covering a 2 count. Roman continues to work on Bryan. Bryan is on the top, but sends Roman in between the top rope. Back suplex by Bryan on Reigns off the top, cover and a 2 count. Then we get repeated yes kicks by Bryan. Roman counters with a Samoan drop, which looked sick. Covering a 2 count. We get a Superman punch, but Bryan counters with a kick. Targets the arm of Reigns, so the left arm, as I stated before. We get a suicide dive attempt by Bryan, but Roman catches him and hits a belly-to-belly on Bryan on the floor, which looked nasty as hell. Roman tries to spear him and misses and goes through the barricade, and we go to commercial break. Once we come back from commercial, Bryan is on the top, and he delivers a flying headbutt. We get a cover, but a near fall, which is a 2 count. We get a Superman punch, cover and a 2 count. Inside cradle by Bryan, 2 count. Running knee, cover and a 2 count. We get a crossface by Bryan, a cover, counter by Roman, 2 count. We get a spear by Reigns, and then we get a 2 count. Then we get a guillotine submission. Bryan applies the armbar. Crossface by Bryan. Roman tries to escape, but Bryan takes him back at the middle of the ring. It looked like Roman was about to lose, but it didn't happen. We get a powerbomb by Reigns. Repeated forearm by Reigns. A powerbomb by Reigns again. Then we get a guillotine with the other arm that was the good arm. It was not the bad arm that Bryan was targeting throughout the entire match, which looked sick as hell. And then all of a sudden, Bryan passes out, and the match is over. Bryan is out of SmackDown. After the match, Roman grabs 2 chairs. He's about to give Bryan the concerto, but Bryan comes in to try and make the save. Cesaro delivers a devastating uppercut on Roman, sends him outside the ring. Then we get a uppercut in the outside of the ring, sending him on the barricade, not over the barricade. Repeated right hands on Roman by Cesaro. Then Jey Uso comes out of nowhere and attacks Cesaro. Ties Cesaro in between the top and middle rope inside the ring. Then all of a sudden, while Cesaro is watching, Reigns delivers a devastating concerto to Daniel Bryan. And the show ends. The show goes off to the air. Roman Reigns is still the Universal Champion. This match, holy shit. This match was awesome. I really enjoyed it. One of the best matches in WWE right now. This match delivered 100%. I really enjoyed it. Bryan and Reigns told a really good story. I love the back and forth, especially in the end. I loved the unpredictability. Now, everybody knew coming in Reigns was going to go over. But at the same time, especially near the end, I actually thought Roman was actually going to tap out or even pass out in the match. Because when he had the yes lock applied on him and he was in the middle, I was like, oh yeah, it's over. But it actually didn't happen, and I really enjoyed that unpredictability nature. Overall, I thought the show was great. The match, the highlight of the show was this specific match, and throughout the entire show, what I really enjoyed about this show was the fact that they were hyping up this show, and it was making it seem important. It was already important, but they were making it more important as it was, and that was the awesome part of it, and I really enjoyed the fact that they put a lot of effort into making this match amazing, and that's what I really enjoy. SmackDown, now, quick news on SmackDown. Next week, we got Old School SmackDown. So apparently when the video package aired, everybody was excited that, oh my God, they're going to bring back the fist set. My honest thoughts on Old School SmackDown, be great. I will watch, of course. I have to watch, but it'd be awesome to see. And not only that, let's be honest, it's for WWE to pop a rating, but at the same time, it's going to be really cool to see. Not only that, I don't think they're going to be bringing back the fist because they did showcase the Attitude Era SmackDown logo, so I think they're going to be bringing back the oval set. That's just me, but it is what it is. But yeah, highlight of the night was this main event, which went on for like multiple different commercial breaks because the match started early. But overall, this was an awesome match. And yeah, I really enjoyed the show. There were a couple of nitpicks on the show and things that were not great. I mean, the booking with Apollo Crews and Big E, and the booking with Bianca Belair, the Street Profits, Roode and Ziggler, and Bayley were not the best. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. The fact that Shayna Baszler got pinned by Tamina is embarrassing in my opinion. I don't know why they booked it like that. If they were going to lose that match, at least have Nia take the pinfall, not Shayna, because Shayna doesn't deserve a treatment like that, but it is what it is. But my thoughts on the show, this was not a bad show at all. One of the best matches I've seen of the year for SmackDown, and this was not a bad show. I thought it was pretty much better than last week. Now, granted, Raw is still a terrible show, so it's not going to change anything. But yeah, this was SmackDown. We got our Raw review coming up on Tuesday. We got our Dynamite review coming back on Wednesday. I know I missed the upload on Thursday because I was busy with a lot of other stuff that I have to finish. And yeah, and then we got SmackDown next week, of course. But yeah, this was my SmackDown review. And please like, subscribe, comment, push that bell for notifications. And this is Broken Havoc. Signing out.